How do you know when you've been called to more? How do you know when you feel that there's something more to this thing called life, that what you're doing is not really where you're supposed to be at, and there's something greater than yourself that you should be focusing on? When I was younger, I always wanted to be a teacher. I always felt called, like in my soul, that I wanted to be a teacher. So that was my main focus in high school is like, and in elementary school. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a teacher. But something kind of showed me that I needed, that there was something bigger. Like my spirit would show me certain things that it didn't make correlate with me being a teacher in a way, if that makes sense. Like I felt like real estate, I had to something to do with real estate, but I really couldn't pinpoint exactly what that was. And in retrospect, I could really say that my soul wanted to be a teacher, but my spirit wanted me to focus on real estate related things. Growing up, my parents owned their homes, so I would help around the house. I would rake the leaves, shovel the snow. When we had tenants and they were leaving, I would help my father paint, clean it up, do all these things. And in a vague, naive sense, that's how I kind of felt like real estate was kind of my purpose, but I just didn't know it at the time. Parents put a strong emphasis on education, especially my mom. As she was an accountant, but she didn't have a college degree. She only had experience. My father only had a middle school education. So he would always say, don't be stupid like me. You don't want to work in a factory all your life. And society even told me, you got to go to college. You got to you got to go to college. You got to get your education in order for you to get a good job. So as soon as I graduated high school, I knew that a university we wasn't able to afford. So I went straight to community college and took summer sessions. So then that way I could get my prerequisites done and over with because you know what? I had to be a teacher. Around that time, our governor here in New Jersey was Chris Christie, and he had it out for teachers. He was trying to dismantle the union. He was trying to uplift charter schools because public schools weren't the best at that time. So he was trying to enhance and have a hyper focus on charter schools. While he was doing that, he was making the education program very difficult to get into. So every time my GPA went to the required amount, it was changed to another GPA level. So I felt like it was a challenge every step of the way when it came for me to actually get my degree. So I would take semesters off here and there because I was confused as to where was I going? What was I doing? Switching my majors, trying to figure things out. And my mom just wanted me to get my degree. I did continuing education courses in real estate. I passed the test, but I didn't have enough money to take the state test. And my mom was like, no, you need to finish school. I even went to school to be an appraiser and I passed my test and everything. And all I had to do was get a mentorship program. But unfortunately, being a woman, I didn't know anybody in the field. It was hard for me to find a mentor in that field. And on top of that, the recession hit, which made things a lot more difficult for me. I finished and got my associate's degree, and by that time, I met my husband, and we ended up getting pregnant, and I decided that I would continue on with school and becoming a teacher. I wanted to get my degree, and I just felt like I needed to finish that this was the trajectory that I wanted to go because I felt like it would lead me to more open paths to give me more opportunities in real estate. But it just became too difficult having a kid, having a family. It was just too hard for me to continue on going to school. So we decided that I will stay at the job that I was working at an answering service company, and be able to raise my daughter and focus on her and focus on me too. There was a long time that I really that was the time I didn't know who I was, where I was going, what I was doing, if teaching was even something that I wanted to do. So I had to pause and put the brakes and said, you know what? I have to be here for my daughter. I'm just going to bite the bullet and just stay here. My job was very flexible with me. They were very accommodating with me. So when it came for me to having to bring my daughter in, they would let me. And, it was a good job overall because they treated me fairly. Then the pandemic happened. The pandemic opened my eyes and showed me that as much as I liked being at my job, I was getting too comfortable, and there was something in me that was battling like, this is not where you're supposed to stay. Where are you gonna go? What are you gonna do? Type of thing. And I'm just battling myself because I'm like, well, what else can I do? I just don't know. So my brother was taking real estate classes. He passed them. He became an agent, and he's like, you need to get your real estate license. This is something that you need to do, and you'll be real good at. So it opened my eyes again to the possibility. And during the pandemic, they finally made the real estate courses remote. So I ended up taking the classes and I passed. When they say once you find your purpose, once you find your calling, the devil is going to work extra hard on you. Well, he sure worked extra hard on me. As soon as I passed my state license and I got my little, I can hang my real estate license in an office. A couple weeks later, my sister passed away. And then after that, my grandfather passed away, my father passed away, my grandmother passed away, all back to back, 1 year apart. My home life wasn't any easier. My daughter was challenging, and I had a hard time raising her and trying to figure that out, trying to figure out my relationship, trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do in real estate. It was just everything coming all together all at once. I felt like I just needed to stop and take a break and reassess. My job during the pandemic was just too crazy because we were a medical answering service. So essentially we were essential, and I had to go in the office every day for my work shift, on top of figuring out how I was going to do remote learning. Luckily I had my mother-in-law and my mom to be able to help us while we were still going to work, because my husband is in construction, so he was also essential and he got to go to work too. So all of these things are piling on. I felt like I was going crazy, and I felt like I had to choose. And I decided to take a disability for mental health issues because it was just becoming too overwhelming, too much for me to try to figure things out. Through it all, I still felt that God was still leading me to do real estate. So I decided to, switch my offices that I was with because I wanted to learn about foreclosures and short sales. I wanted to be with an office that provided leads, so then that way it was a little bit easier for me to generate income while I was still trying to figure out my path in real estate. During this time, I felt like I was doing the right thing. I was listening to people. I was, scaling, doing all these different things, and I was having some success. But something told me I'm relying way too much on people. I'm focusing way too much on the worldly things. And slowly, my real estate career started shifting. I was doing all the things that, the world will tell you that you need to do in order for you to get yourself right and get yourself better. I was going to the gym. I was going to therapy. I was going to church. I was still doing all the things that the world will tell you to do in order for you to grow. But the one thing I wasn't doing was focusing on myself and really meditating. I felt like there was still something else that was missing in my life. So once I started really following what my church was telling me to do, one of my therapists was telling me to do, I realized that I had a lot of codependency issues. Like I needed everything to be perfect. Oh, this person, in order for this to be perfect, this person has to do this. In order for this to go this way, this person has to do this. And I realized that I needed to let go of all of it, all of it. I can't control my daughter. I can't control my husband. I can't control my family. I have to just let things go. Even within myself, I can't be a certain way and have these expectations when they're not of God. So I felt like everything that I attained while I was in the world, I felt like God was stripping me away from it. And did it hurt? Hell freaking yes. But I felt like it was necessary, and I just prayed, Lord, if it was meant to be, it will come back to me. Help me be obedient and guide me through this. And as he was stripping me away from those things, I started learning a little bit more about myself. And this may be a controversial topic, but in order for me to open myself up, I tried to align myself with people who were spiritually based and believed in God. And I would get my cards read, or, I would do the incense and the sage to help me open myself up. As I continued to be consistent in meditation, I started learning more about myself and weaning myself off of certain things because the spirit led me to say, you don't need those things anymore. You've grown them. You're relying on me, and I will guide you through it. And that's how I was able to confirm my purpose. I'm nowhere near where it is that I want to be or where I'm headed. And so parts of it, I don't even know. But I do know that God got me, and I'm going to continue to focus on my purpose and focus on real estate and do what it is that's necessary in order for me to do it. But I need to consult God first in all my ways, from the beginning of the day all the way to the end of the day. And I'm also noticing that I have to give myself grace when I don't accomplish all the things that I accomplish within a day. And I just have to keep pushing forward, pushing that needle, and whatever challenge that comes my way, I know it's going to be for the better. So join me as I continue to grow in my purpose in real estate.